Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's going on?
This is Tony.
And I'm Jenny.
And we are Lido Loca, and we're here to talk about Cuba 1 year later. That's right. It was 1 year ago when we were in Cuba.
Yeah.
And much like last year, we spent the last week worrying about a hurricane.
Yeah, so coincidental and, well, maybe not, right? It's hurricane season.
It is hurricane season, but we thought we did the right thing by not booking a cruise during hurricane season. But we are here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and as you may know, Hurricane Florence hit the Carolinas full on.
Yeah, it affected a lot of people that we know and care about, and yeah, it was just it's still rough for most of the Carolinas.
Yeah, we were fortunate. I mean, we're fairly far inland. We did have some worries about flooding, but for the most part, it rained for about 12 to 14 hours, pretty heavily, and we had the heavy winds here. Fortunately, we were out of town, but when we came back, we did see trees down, and
yeah.
We spent the night listening to rain. But for the most part, it didn't turn out too bad.
No.
The hurricane that we were worried about last year was Hurricane Irma. About a week before we went to Cuba, it went right across the island. It went right across Havana, and it did a significant amount of damage. It was almost up until 2 or 3 days before we cruised, before we knew we'd actually get to go there.
Yeah, it was pretty nail-biting.
We were worried about the hurricane like a lot, but fortunately we got to go on our cruise to Cuba.
And if you didn't know we were worried about it a lot, if you go back and look at our last year videos.
Yeah, so we actually did a countdown series, 100 Days to Havana, and I think about 2 weeks out we started talking about hurricanes and really the potential for our cruise to be disrupted. Yeah. Now, Jenny, we went out of Tampa.
We did.
We cruised on the brand spanking new Carnival Paradise.
It's not brand new.
No, it wasn't even upgraded.
It was not even upgraded.
Since we've been on the Paradise, it's been upgraded with the Guy's Burgers.
Yeah, so I can't even imagine how great it is now because it was great then.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So the Paradise is part of Carnival's fantasy class of ships. That is actually one of their oldest ship classes. And so this was a small ship. I think it held almost 900 people, so under 1,000 people. And it didn't seem like it was full.
No.
Weren't
not
many kids.
No, maybe 10 kids.
So why did we go to Cuba? How did we end up on that cruise?
So my grandfather is from Cuba.
Yes.
So we were always told we couldn't go. So once it got open, and I mean, it was something that I wanted to do.
Here's the real backstory. We were on the Carnival Fantasy. The thing broke down. They gave us a 50% off a next cruise. I was at work one day and I called Jenny up and I said, we can either get a balcony and go on the Fantasy again, which was the ship that broke down, or we can go to Cuba. And Jenny said,
let's go to Cuba.
Let's go to Cuba. And so that's what we did. We were able to talk my brother, Retro Sarge, Christopher, and his lovely wife, Heidi, the Queen of Deutschland, our shipmates, into going with us. We all headed down to Tampa, and we got on the Carnival Paradise. And so the itinerary for the cruise, it was all about Cuba. So we left Tampa, we sailed under the Skyway Bridge, which was amazing. And then, was it the very next day we ended up in Havana?
I don't
know if there was a full sea day or not. It was only 5 days, right? 4 days?
I think it was 5 days.
Yeah.
I think that I don't really remember.
Oh yeah,
Hold up a minute.
Reverse shipmate. Well, if you guys don't use the shipmate app, it's really cool. There's a reverse countdown. So Jenny will tell us how long ago. It's got to be like 365 days, and
it was 361 days ago.
Before our cruise started? That doesn't seem right.
No, that we got off.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I know, we were 361 days since we
Okay, so
came home.
you are correct. The first day we sailed out of the beautiful Tampa port in Tampa Bay. And
hold on. Can you say the I am correct part again?
You're correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Then the second day we arrived in Havana, and then I think we arrived in Havana probably like
12, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit later in the morning, in the afternoon, early afternoon. We spent the whole day there. We were able to dock, and it was an overnight trip.
Yeah.
And then what did we leave the next morning? About 8?
8 or 9, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really cool. We stayed the night there, and so we did a daytime excursion. We purchased this excursion called Havana Top 10, and it's supposed to take you to, guess how many? 10 locations. We didn't actually go to 10 locations. The tour was disrupted because of Hurricane Irma. There were sections of Havana that were closed down, but I think we got off the ship about 1 o'clock, and the tour was about 6 hours. We did a lot of cool stuff. I would recommend going and watching the vlogs that we put up from the Carnival Paradise. But just the highlights, we went to the National Cemetery, we went to Revolutionary Square, we went to the fort that overlooks the port of Havana, we went to a local like straw market, community market, and I think that's it.
Yeah, so...
And we drove around a lot of places, but we only had 4 official stops.
Yeah, you're supposed to have 10, but like Tony said, you know, Irma didn't help us out with that a little bit. And it was kind of, you know, so even though Irma came through, in the parts that they drove us through, you couldn't tell.
No, they weren't.
The only way, right, the only way you could tell was that there was no leaves on the trees.
Right, yeah, they worked really hard to have it cleaned up. It really... one of the big takeaways for me is that at least the local economy there is so dependent on tourism. You can tell that how important it is to them. And yeah, they were ready to go. Hurricane the previous week, and then they were taking in cruise ships. And we were only like the second cruise to go to Cuba, right? We missed the inaugural cruise, I think, by a week. I know that other countries like Canadians, Europeans go to Cuba, but it was a really big deal for Americans to go to Cuba. It just it had, you know, it hadn't really happened on a cruise ship, and really some of the laws have changed. We had to buy a visa to get into the country. Just want to let everybody know about that. The cruise line handled the visa for us, but it was an extra $80, so you don't normally per person. You don't normally pay that on your normal like trip to the Caribbean, and then we had to make sure that we did something with a Cuban national. So we had to, for the visa to be valid, we had to do a people-to-people excursion. So that means you couldn't just wander around Cuba by yourself, but you actually had to be able to say that you spent time with somebody that was from the country. And the tour guide for the Top 10 tour actually met that requirement. So
right, and I mean at that point you could walk around on your own, but you had to do good documentation, and you did actually have to talk with a Cuban resident.
Right.
So
yeah, that's the main thing. So you could have left the port. There was a shopping area across the street, that kind of thing. But yeah, like Jenny said, you would have had to make sure you like took pictures of who you interacted with or kept a journal, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so for us, being fairly new travelers to foreign places like that, we just decided to stay with the cruise line.
On the straight and narrow. Yeah. You know, I'm super excited. I would love to visit Cuba again. Just because I think that first experience, it's always the unknown. Right. You know, and I think that if we did go again, you know, I would take our own tour. Yeah. You know, like hop in one of those cool cars and, you know, experience Cuba by ourselves.
Why would you? I know you would recommend people to go to Cuba, right?
I mean, if it's something that you would love to do, absolutely.
But like, why would you recommend? Well, like, what's 3 things that why you should go to Cuba from Jenny's perspective?
Okay, for U.S. citizens,
yes,
we were never allowed to go there before, so
it was forbidden.
Right. So why not go? Yeah. Just the vibe from the people, they're so kind and sweet, and it just was an amazing experience to be there. And 3, you only live once. Enjoy it, get as much experience that you can, and just be able to travel. I mean, it's such a beautiful life journey, right? To be able to travel and see these different places. Yeah.
So I guess if I'm going to give my 3, my number 1 would be it's someplace I could never go in my entire life. So the fact that it was forbidden and then it was open, and the way politics works, who knows if it's going to stay open. So I saw it as a window of opportunity where we could go. And then when I got there, it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. So I would recommend it because now that we've been to a few Caribbean islands, I've been to other places in the world. I've been to Mexico. I've been to Canada. I can say for certain that the Cuban experience was different than anything I'd experienced before.
Right.
And you know, it's one of those deals that's so close to the United States. You always hear it. It's like always the thing that people politicize, and they talk about just 90 miles south of Florida is this nation. And it actually gives you a good appreciation for just being lucky enough to be born in the U.S. It really, it kind of reminded you that we have a lot of benefits, and it was good to be able to go down there and have an appreciation, because sometimes we get stuck in our own mindset.
Yeah.
And for me, it was helpful, a helpful reminder that the world's a lot bigger than just where we live, and that you should think of other people and not just be like, you know. But I would do it. I know a lot of people are resistive. They feel like they're supporting communism if they go down there. But there are people who are not part of the government who are super appreciative that people are coming and spending their tourist dollars. I feel like it's helping them. At least that was the sense that I got. And so, I'm down with not supporting communism. But at the same time, there's a whole population of people that are somewhat downtrodden, that by going there, you actually kind of help with your tourism dollars. So, but what about you? Have you been to Cuba? Did you love it? Is it someplace you would never go? I know it's a kind of controversial thing. I would love to have a conversation below. Let us know if it's something that you would like to do. And who knows, if we get enough people that want to go to Cuba, maybe we can all go to Cuba together.
Yeah, and what better way to experience it but all together.
Exactly. All right, guys, that's a little look into the past, a little throwback Thursday on a Friday, thinking about where we were a year ago as we cruised into the port of Havana. If you like this kind of thing, please hit the like button. If you're brand new here, consider subscribing. We make all kinds of videos, but really we just want to get to know you guys, and we want you guys to get to know us, and because we're super passionate about cruising, and we're super passionate about meeting other cruisers and helping them along with their journey. So feel free to reach out in the comments. Come over to Facebook to the Lido Loca cruising community. Hook up with us there, and we're on all kinds of social media. We try to be everywhere as much as we can. Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, all of it. Again, my name's Tony.
And I'm Jenny.
And we are Lido Loca. And until the next time.
We'll see you on the Lido.
We'll see you on the Lido.
Bye.
Bye.